Well, first of all, it's lovely to see everybody back, and it's wonderful that we're talking to such a knowledgeable um, Ayurvedic group because um, Ayurveda is the knowledge of life, and the more profound your insights, the more um, motivated you become to ensuring a better balance. And it's an ongoing process which bears sort of reminding. So it's lovely to see you all back and to be reminded and hopefully taken to another level of understanding and insight, which will give you more possibilities of a better balance. Um, my talk tonight is really just to set the scene for the 6 stages. And what I would like to do is answer the question in the first place, most profound, is why in the first place must we suffer? And why actually do we end up progressing in a direction of disease? And then Dr. Nahid will take that forward into those 6 steps in the wrong direction, increasing disorder, dysfunction, and disease. And Rajvinder will then take up the mantle and she'll give us the perspective of Ayurveda in handling these 6 stages and lay out for us the whole range of possibilities and the needs at the various stages and how ultimately we need to throw the whole book at the disease that has developed and progressed to a great degree. And what we're hoping is that you resolve, having heard it all, that you're not going to go there. And that is the beauty of Ayurveda, in that it gives you some choice about the matter. You can choose to move in a different direction. Rather than disease, move towards health. So I did at one talk mention that my motivation ultimately in getting involved with Ayurveda was that I couldn't find an answer to a very simple question, which was why, oh, why do we suffer? Why do we have to suffer? And that quest led me in the direction of medicine and led me then in a direction of transcendental meditation and an increasing awareness of an aspect of life which went beyond medical studies, which went beyond the physical, which went beyond the mind, which was transcendental, which was a field of pure unbounded consciousness to which everybody has access if they only settle down within. And that field of consciousness, as eventually Ayurveda was to unfold for me, is what conceives and constructs and governs and becomes a physical instrument which um, then allows the projection of that field of consciousness and the wonderful, incredible human potential of being a manifest expression of all the intelligence that goes about creating life and creating a universe. And this is the purpose of our life, to evolve more of our own innate potentiality, which is joy and love and energy and health. So why then, if that potentiality exists, do we suffer? And ultimately, the question is answered by one word. We suffer because of Pragyaparad. Now, aren't you an awful lot wiser? So, what is Pragyaparad? Pragyaparad means we made a mistake, a blunder. Pragyaparad means a mistake of the intellect. So our intellect is that aspect of our mind which discriminates, which chooses this, that, or the other. And it actually motivates the mind in all its thinking and feeling. So this mistake of the intellect, Pragyaparad, what was it? What was it that caused us this misery? The mistake of the intellect was that we looked out. We looked out. That innate being of pure bliss at the basis of life reverberated as feelings and then an intellect. And the intellect looked out. And when it looked out, it no longer looked in. And when it failed to look in, it forgot its source. In other words, we get so caught up with life around us, with the material elements of creation, with our own physical bodies. We get so distracted from the ultimate reality of the finest essence of our being, of love, and ultimately of consciousness itself. And having therefore looked out and forgotten the deeper inner field of life, we lost touch with our nature. We forgot ourselves. We forgot our own innate being and awareness and all those dynamics at the depths of our life which were structuring our physiology. And so when we forgot them all these organizing principles lost to our memory, we then started to behave in ways which were not in keeping with those laws of nature, with those organizing principles, with the very intelligence which structured the body, that intelligence which was within us. We were going against it. We were making mistakes. And in that process, we disturbed the whole flow of life. And as a consequence, that obstruction, that disturbance of the natural flow meant a disconnection from our own joy, our own love, our own well-being, our own health, and we suffered. So the mistake we made was to look out, and it was very interesting, the analogy Maharishi once used. He talked about a light, a light that lights inside and out, a light that lights inside and out. He said it's the light at the door. The light at the door lights outside the house and it lights inside the house. And like that, we need an intellect that lights inside as well as out. And ultimately, where we get that ability and capacity is by regularly, over days, weeks, months, and years, training our intellect to transcend, allowing our awareness to settle within on such a regular basis that it retains its memory increasingly and projects its potential through a balanced mind-body. So that is one answer that Ayurveda gives to the reason we suffer. And that's the most profound and the most real reason we suffer. But Ayurveda goes on to, draw out the implications of this pragyaparad, this mistake of the intellect. And the implications of the mistake of the intellect are overuse, underuse, and abuse. This is what you do get up to every day, creating all your health problems, all unhappiness is overuse and underuse and abuse of what? Of your own mind. And not just that, of your senses. And not just that, of your organs of action, as Ayurveda calls them. These are the causes of disease: overuse, underuse, and abuse of the mind, the senses, and activities. And one more thing Ayurveda adds into that, and the value of time. Time. So what does all this mean? It means that, if you use your mind in inappropriate ways, in terms of plotting and planning and greed and angst and anger and you're overusing, you're abusing. If you're not using your mind, if you're just being overly lethargic and not actually engaging with life, overuse, underuse, and abuse of your mind, of your senses, yeah, you consider going to a horror movie. What are we doing? It's just abuse of the senses, exposing them to the horrors of murder and crime. I mean, even the media must take some responsibility for the fear and it's generating, and what it's doing. It's like abuse of the senses and the mind. And this it could be, very heavy metal music could be an overuse of the sense of hearing. But on the other hand, there can be sensory deprivations which cause illness. So overuse, underuse, and abuse of the senses. And then overuse, underuse, and abuse of the organs of action. Doing too much or doing too little, straining, rushing. And the organs of action are talked of in terms of hands for doing things, feet for, moving around. So people are overtraining, is an excessive use of those organs of mobilization. And the excretory organs, when we allow ourselves to be constipated, or the sexual organs, overuse, underuse, and abuse. And finally, the tongue, very important, very powerful organ of action. Ayurveda is very, very much down on gossip. That didn't do you any good. This is overuse, underuse, abuse of the senses, the motor organ, the mind, and the value of time. And it's wonderful. You've all come to understand the significance of the daily routine and come to experience in reality that when you do the appropriate thing at the appropriate time, you feel better. But doing the inappropriate thing at the inappropriate time, now that'll cause problems. And not just in relation to the day, but the seasons. And Ayurveda places great emphasis on the seasons. And it's a very interesting one because you can understand how in the seasons, your doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, whichever according to the season, might start to get a bit increased. And then it might start to get a bit excited. But Ayurveda always was about restoring us to balance. So at the end of a season, there would have been a detox process to restore the balance to that dosha and get it back to normal from its excited state so that it didn't go on into becoming the more advanced stages of disease, which Dr. Naheed is going to talk about. And so this is the value of time, that we do the appropriate thing in the appropriate season. We're coming to spring. And so at the end of the spring, we have the spring detox because we want to clear the accumulating kapha. So we go in with spring forward into summer with vitality and clarity. And then in the summer, Pitta will increase, and we want to, at that time, bring Pitta back to balance. So this is the theoretical foundation for Ayurveda's recommendations, which we're going to go into in greater detail as Nahid um, sort of works through the stages of disease, and Rajvinder shows you how you come back to balance, how with Ayurveda we treat and manage these conditions and regain our balance. So I hope that's laid a foundation that will be significant for you and helpful to you and brings out for you the depth and profundity of the perspective so that on that foundation you have confidence of the building of the theme of the 6 stages of disease. For that, I'd like to hand over now to Dr. Nahid. If Noel is still around, of course, to allow Dr. Nahid to talk. So
Yep.
no sign of Noel.
How you doing? No, I'm there. Yeah. Thanks very much for that, Don. So, Dr. Nahid, I'll unmute Dr. Nahid. You unmute.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Nahid.
Hi.
Okay, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Brennan. So, I would like to share my screen before I start so that I don't have to interrupt. So, you have to enable me.
Yeah, you're enabled.
Yeah. So, today I will discuss some of the insight of the 6 stages of disease, and our objective to choose this topic was to spread the awareness, to educate that when is the time you can address your disease, your health condition. So what happens, like when I take consultations, and frequently I come across that while I'm taking the detailed medical history, I came across that the symptoms of the disease started much earlier than actually it got diagnosed. So I was wondering, why is that happening? So my, like, while thinking, I thought that maybe you were never able to discuss, guess the simple minor symptoms on a daily basis can be related to your any serious health condition. So moving forward with our stages of the disease, so there are 6 stages of the disease, and all these stages, develop one after the other successively, and each stage is stronger than the previous one. And these are the stages which actually evolve into the stages of disease process, and in common term it is known as the pathogenesis of the disease. So the first stage is the stage of accumulation, where our doshas, our vata, pitta, and kapha gets mildly increased, and that can happen like because of our day-to-day activity. Like for vata, it can be if we are not sleeping on time, or it may be like we are eating too much of dry and cold food. And similarly for kapha, it can be like sedentary lifestyle, and there is no control over the diet. And if we keep continuing our causative factors of the stage one, then what happens that the doshas goes into the second stage, which is the stage of aggravation. Or I can simply say in that way also, that if your doshas are already in the accumulation stage and the season changes, so suppose if your kapha is already in the accumulation stage and springs come in, then what happens, the kapha goes in aggravation, and you start developing cough, cold, hay fever kind of kapha related symptoms. That's why I believe that Ayurveda has also given a huge concept regarding the seasonal change, so that our doshas doesn't go on aggravation and further stages. And then the third stage, the stage of spreading. So I can give you an analogy for this stage. So when it rains a lot, so what happens, that water comes out of the river and start spreading into the streets and in the roads, like everywhere around the city, right? Similarly, what happens, that if the doshas keep accumulating and accumulating, then they come out, they spread out from their particular part and occupy the site of other doshas. So while they are spreading, they can either move, like the vata can move all alone, or it can move with other one or two doshas. Then comes the fourth stage, the stage of localization. So the water which was coming out of the river, they were spreading. So what happened, they start getting localized. So they goes into the store, they goes inside the supermarket, in the houses and everywhere, and start clogging there and starting destructions over there. Similarly, they get localized in the different body part and start producing the disease in that part. Then the fifth stage, when all of the pathogenesis stages is completed, and you start developing sign and symptoms of the disease, and like you're not feeling well, you go and you meet your doctor, you address your health conditions. And then the last stage, which is the stage of chronicity, where if you even go and address your health condition in this stage, then your disease can become incurable, or they become very hard to treat. They very tough to cure that disease. So how will you know that what is the stage of your disease, whether you are actually in any stage of the disease or not? So each stage gives us some sign and symptoms so that we can assess that something is not right within us. So I'll show you some of the symptoms. So when vata goes in the accumulation state, what happens that our bowel motion become very irregular. We even don't pass, or sometimes we are passing our motions in the morning, or sometimes we are passing motions in the evening. So it becomes irregular, and we feel kind of a full inside our alimentary tract because we are not passing properly. And but when pitta goes in the accumulation state, then we feel like we are pale, like we appear like, oh, why I'm appearing yellowish, or why my palms and soles are appearing pale. And you might feel feverish, but when you actually check in the thermometer, you don't find any temperature. It's just that your body becomes warmer because there is a mild increase in the pitta. Similarly, for kapha, you start feeling heavy. You feel like, oh, what's wrong? Why I'm not feeling nice today? Why I'm feeling too heavy today after eating or doing any activity? And you feel lack of energy, both mentally and physically. And there's one important point in this stage, that we start developing aversions to all the causative factors which causes the accumulation of vata, pitta, and kapha. So listen to your body carefully. If you feel that I'm not liking this thing, then think carefully, like why. Maybe your dosha is out of balance and your body needs it to get in balance. Then the stage of aggravation shows some of the symptoms. For vata, it shows mild and diffuse kind of pain. So the pain can be in any body part, or it can be just in the abdomen, or in the hands, in the limbs, in any body part. And the movement, which is like around 3 to 4 peristaltic movement in our abdomen usually, but you can feel like there are more of the movement than usual in the aggravation stage of vata. For pitta, you start having belchings, and you feel like a sour kind of taste in your throat when you belch, during the belching. And your thirst can increase. You can feel burning sensation in any local or the all over the body part. And for kapha, you don't like to have food. So whenever we suffer with cough and cold, we don't like to eat much. We don't find taste in our food, and you might feel nausea, but there hardly be any vomiting. It's just like you feel nauseatic. And then when your doshas are all over your body, they're spreading here and there, then the symptoms will be more intense. So for vata, as vata is a ear, so they'll start moving in the wrong direction. So you might have a lot of burps, you might have a lot of flatulence, or you might feel a lot of gurgling kind of sound of your intestine. For pitta, it can be more of a burning sensation. Maybe some people complain that they are feeling a lot of a burning sensation in their palm and sole, or like overall. And you feel a kind of pain, as if like something is sucking out from the body. Or you might feel very hot in your stomach region, in the left mid side of your uh, s- abdomen. You feel like fumes are coming out from your stomach. And for kapha, you feel no taste in your food. You feel like indigestion in your food, like, when you eat and you're not able to digest. Similarly, we can see in the COVID situation, when kapha is all around and people are not able to taste their food, they lost their taste. And there will be physical weakness, as kapha is responsible for the stability of a body, and there can be possibilities of vomiting as well. So when the doshas spreads all over, and then they get localized in different body parts. So I'll give some of the examples. So when doshas get accumulated in skin, muscle and blood, then they start developing the disorders, skin disorders. Similarly, if they get accumulated in fats, so we develop goiter and tumor kind of disease. So this stage is also very important because in this stage we start developing symptoms, the premonitory symptoms of the disease. So this premonitory symptoms might be a new term for many of us. So Ayurveda has given along with the sign and symptoms, the premonitory symptoms of each disease. So I'll give you an example to make it clear to you. So whenever we have cough and cold, we have sore throat at the start, and then we finally, after 2 days or 1 day, we develop cough and cold. So if you address your health condition when you are in the sore throat stage, in the premonitory stage, then you might not develop cough and cold. And even if you develop, I'm sure that after taking the precautions and the measures, your cough and cold will resolve in just a day or two. And then the stage of manifestation. So finally all the pathogenesis get completed and you start having clear signs and symptoms of the disease. So the severity and the number of signs and symptoms depends how much out of balance you are, how much doshas has got aggravated, how much it has spread. So in all those conditions. And then the last stage, which is the stage of chronicity. So in this stage, usually the disease become very difficult to cure and usually require a lot of intense therapies. And all these stages are equally important from clinical point of view as well, because it helps us to assess the strength of the disease, the chronicity of the disease, and the strength of the medication and treatments. So if you're already in the stage 5 or stage 4, so simple home remedies will not be of that help. You need intense, precise herbals, like more frequent doses, and some of the panchakarma therapies as well, which Dr. Rajvinder is going to elaborate in detail. So this is it from my end. Thank you, everyone, and I hand over to Noel.
Thanks, Dr. Naheed. That was great. Very clear explanation. Thank you for that. I'll unmute Dr. Rajvinder. Hi, Dr. Raj.
I know. I'm
Okay.
also going to share my screen, so you have to allow me as well. Can you see?
It hasn't. Yes, it's come up now. Yes, perfect.
1 second, I go on the slide. Yep. Perfect. Well, thank you, Dr. Dawn, for a wonderful start, and thank you, Dr. Naheed, for going into the detail how the 6 stages, how the disease is manifested through all the different 6 levels are there. So I'm just going to walk you all through the treatment part, like how fascinating Ayurveda has different modalities, different protocol to different stages of the diseases. So that's what we are looking at it. What is the chikitsa? So there are, we'll call it Nidhana Panchak, the diagnostic tool. When the patient comes to the doctor, what the doctor is looking at. So the Ayurvedic physician is looking at the person. So there are 3 kind of tools. The first the Ayurveda physician has, this is called darshan, sparshan, and prashan. The first, the patient is walking at the door and the physician is already looking and thinking in the head, oh, that person is either a vata and probably that's the problem the person is coming with. And then by asking different questions about their general habits, general dislikes, and then dispersion, which is taking the pulse and all that. These are the simple tools. Then Ayurveda physician diagnose the problem. But when the person come with the complaint, then they said, for example, person come with the arthritis, so the Ayurveda physician will be looking into their diet, into their lifestyle, and trying to find out the hetu, what is the factor, what is the reason, the cause of this problem manifested in the person. And that could be the person is going to bed very late, eating food late in the evening time, skipping lunch, doing too much. So these are the factors through which the vata is getting disturbed, and slowly it is manifesting into arthritis. And before the problem is actually manifested as arthritis, there will be sapura rupa, which means there will be some premonitory features, as Dr. Nahid has said. And that could be the person is complaining of maybe all of a sudden there's a dryness on the skin, or the person is feeling cold, and that's just initial stage where the vata is getting a little bit out of accumulating its own place. So vata is in the lower part of the body, so that's why arthritis is very common in vata people. So in the beginning, when vata is accumulating in its own place before it starts spreading into other tissues and other channels, there are some premonitory factors that appear, some symptoms appear in the body. If the person catches at it and talk to the Ayurveda physician, and that symptom could be just as the change of season, which is like autumn. So the person talk to every change of season, patient talk to their Ayurveda doctor, and the doctor advising the changes that has to happen in their diet and lifestyle, then doshas are not going to accumulating with the season change. So that's why, as Dr. Brennan was talking about, the kala, the time to living our life according to the season is very important, so that these doshas, these vata, pitta, kapha, they don't accumulate, because they do accumulate in every change of the season. So that's what maybe a little bit more cold and dryness in the autumn, and by changing your diet and lifestyle a bit, you cannot let the vata go further. Okay, if the vata is gone further, then the rupa, which is now the clinical features of something else, appear, and that could be constipation, that could be bloating, and that could be insomnia. I'm just taking vata here, so that will be the rupa, next level of this dryness and cold sensation lead to. And then the pathogenesis. So now the dosha and the vata is accumulated in its place. Now it is spreading to the tissue, and from tissue it's spreading to the other parts of the body, to the channels, rotras, and all that. So it is becoming very complex now. So that is probably the fourth and fifth level of the disease, as Dr. Nahid has shown different stages of the disease. So then there could be different upashya, different factors. It's not only that vata get accumulated and it's just spreading itself. No, we are helping it to spread through our habits, through our diet, through our lifestyle, through our environment, and through our senses. And like Dr. Rani was talking about Pragyaparad and a misuse, abuse of senses and all that. So these are all the different factors that are helping to spread this disease from one level to the other level. So just wanted to touch like the beauty of Ayurveda is there, to looking at all the different factors, where the disease is, what level it is at the moment, what part of tissue it is, and wherever in the channels, all the different channels of the Ayurveda describe which channel it is. Is it at the blood level, or is it at the muscle level, tissue? So that's all will be diagnosis that a physician is already doing when the patient is talking to the Ayurveda doctor. So yeah, so this is like the kind of same slide as Dr. Nahid was talking. So stage one is like when the accumulation is happening. So dosha accumulate in its own place. For example, the kapha dosha. Kapha dosha is the upper part of the body. So when kapha start accumulating in the winter time, or we are eating all this Christmas cake and chocolates and all that, so it is just accumulating. So what is person experiencing? Maybe a little bit of mucus, and they need to kind of cough up mucus in the morning. That's only first kind of accumulation of kapha. If the person stop eating the chocolate, that just clear up. Okay, we are not stop eating the chocolate, we are drinking more maybe dairy product, more sugar, more cake. Now what will happen to that kapha? Of course it's going to aggravate, it's going to go more. So it is accumulating in its own place, and now from its own place it start going further up. So start coming in the throat with a scratchy throat, and a bit of cough is coming up now. And then it is going to prasara, which is going to spread. It's going to probably spread to the head region. So maybe a little mild dull headache start appearing, and then it is going to get localized. So then what will that be? That will be sinus, and that will be kind of a very kind of maybe blocking in the ear. That is further kind of localization is happening. Now it is appearing, the 5 stages manifestation, and that could be all of a sudden a hay fever, or all of a sudden an allergic response to something, or then further asthma, pneumonia, bronchitis, like that. So you can see how complex it is and how easy it is to catch it at the early diagnosis. So if it catch at the first stage, you are preventing a long-term chronic problem by just understanding, oh, I'm feeling more mucus from last couple of days. I wonder if I'm eating something kapha, or if I'm doing in my lifestyle which is increasing my kapha, like a midday nap for kapha people. If they're sleeping in the middle of the day, they'll be increasing kapha. So that's where you're looking at it, what's happening in me. And so what is the main factors that Ayurveda look at? First, Ayurveda will be looking at your weak digestion, that you don't have proper elimination, and then long-term accumulation. It's not like this stage 1 to stage 6 happen overnight. No, that's a couple of months and years that's taking. So long-term accumulation of the dosha is happening in the body, and plus amas keep on building in the system. That's the reason. So weak digestion and accumulation of dosha in the body. By sleeping midnight, every night we are sleeping midnight, of course vata is going to go up. So you're doing it, you're helping vata to accumulate. And then by eating late dinner and all that, ama is also increasing. So side by side, a lot of different things are happening. Okay, so so that's just I'm just elaborating on the Dr. Nahid slide. Hope it's a bit more clear from here. And now, beauty of Ayurveda treatments. It looks very complex slides. I'll go through one in each term. So when the patient come to the doctor, come to the Vaidya, so Vaidya will take the history. So we'll go into the detail of the diet, lifestyle, environmental, emotional, mental, all the different aspects of a person's life. And then we will see, okay, what level the disease is. If it's only like first stage 1 or stage 2, just a simple change in the diet and lifestyle, that will prevent it. It won't go further. But if it's gone to the stage 3 and stage 4, then okay, there are some purva karma, which is like before actual detoxing, cleansing treatment, we prepare the body to let the ama mobilize from the digestive system, from the other channels. Maybe if the vata is gone from its own place to other areas. So with this purva karma, preparatory treatments, herbs, we want vata to come back to its place first, and then from extra vata to go to the digestive tract, and with the purification treatment, expel it out. And so this is kind of a treatment line. So the purva karmas are very important. Sometimes the patient doesn't need to go to very hard, strong purification treatment. The disease is get under control just by preparatory treatments. So here is, you are seeing the term here, deepna and pachana, which is deepna means strengthening the digestive fire. So we give herbs like triphala, trikatu, or some other stronger herbs just to ignite the digestive fire, so that through the digestive fire, elimination is proper, regulated, and ama start getting digest. Okay. And then if needed, the person is advised to do abhyanga and steam treatments. All of these all are to mobilize the accumulated dosha from the other parts of the body and bringing to the place where they should be. So these are the preparatory treatment. If it's needed, then this go to the next stage of treatment, which is a purification treatment. And purification is like a whole branch of panch karma treatments. If the person doesn't need to go to a clinic and stay there, do the residential treatment, that Ayurveda physician recommend cleansing treatment, seasonal detox, liquid fasting, intermittent fasting. So that will be kind of more cleansing purification treatment. And then if the disease is gone to the level 5 and level 6, then okay, they need to stay in the clinic and they do some of the strong Bastianimas, Shirodara, steaming treatment, like at home, simple treatment like Nasya could be done for the sinus and hay fever and all that. And with the dietary changes, easily could be the accumulation of kapha could be easily kind of cured. But if it's like rheumatoid arthritis or arthritis, then they probably need, depending on the level, further treatment. Okay, now the main treatments are done. After that, there's a whole branch of post care as well. So the person come home or it's under the care of the Vaija, have done the purification treatment. And then after the purification treatments, there's a rasayanas and there's a certain diet to follow. And that's where Ayurveda physician will tell you how long you have to follow this diet, how long you have to do this particular lifestyle, or you might have to adapt this lifestyle, or you have to take certain rasayanas. There are so many tonics in Ayurveda, herbs and all, that will be keep changing. Take this rasayana for 6 weeks and like that. So it is not like you go to the physician and you go take one visit and say, okay, my arthritis is cured. No, you might have to attend your physician a couple of times. And Ayurveda recommend you attend your Ayurveda physician every change of season. Any things you're feeling it's differently, you talk to your physician and you can easily prevent to spread the disease to the next level. Or if it's spreaded already, it's going to take time, so there's a lot of patience. So Ayurveda physician is already planning all those different modality, the what treatment I have to do I need to do a deep napachna for the person now, do I need to do the cleansing treatment now, or do I have to put on the person the rasayana to find the strength first in the body and then do the purification. So it's all kind of depends on the age, on the strength, on the time of the year. So different factors are involved here. So general, I just wanted to do some general for people to take how to digest the ama. So that ama is a big one, toxins in other way. Ama and ojas are two things we use in Ayurveda. Ojas is your immunity. When you eat food, you digest better, eliminate properly. You have vital energy, which is your ojas, which is your good immune system. But if you're not eating properly, you have heartburn, you have bloating, flatulence, constipation, that's all ama in the system. So how you can prevent the ama on daily basis? So you should avoid too much of stimulant, tea, coffee, too acidic. Too much of tea and coffee increase ama in the system. You should eat hungry, you should eat when you feel hungry. That sensation of hunger is very, very important for you, because when you feel hungry, your digestive system is ready to digest the food next meal. If you're not hungry, you're stuffing yourself, your poor tummy is not going to digest the food, it's all going to accumulate there. And then light evening meal. So if you're eating big dinner, going to bed, so imagine what's going to happen. All that kapha is going to keep on accumulating and end up having a belly or extra visceral fat or cholesterol. All that is all the imbalance kapha is there. And I have tried to have some bitter, pungent, a bitter like dandelion, arugula, a pungent ginger, turmeric, parsley, basil, coriander. These wonderful cleansing herbs in your diet. And pomegranate is a wonderful fruit, alkaline fruit. It's great for Pitta people. And ginger lemon pickle, you should have that every day, especially for kapha and vata people. And Pitta in moderation, which is mixing ginger with a bit of lemon and a bit of honey. So, or ginger juice you can have. CCFT is a cumin, coriander, fennel tea, equal proportion of cumin, coriander, fennel. You boil into the liter of water and you sip it through the day. Kapha tea, ruchi tea, trikatu, I spoke. Trikatu is the 3 spices: ginger, long pepper, black pepper. Trifla, I think most of you know now at this stage, you've done the courses with us. And then for mental ama, for Dr. Ben is about the Pragyaparad, for your mental hygiene, for mental health. TM, or the form of meditation, you should practice that. And breathing exercises. A change of season, check with your practitioner, is highly recommended in Ayurveda. Or the seasonal detox and fasting, like we just did one batch of detox with people and already got wonderful feedback how people are feeling light, and some of them are feeling less pain, stiffness, and all that, all the benefits that comes with it. And yeah, and to prevent and heal and stay in harmony with hour to hour. So every 4 hour dosha is changing. So if you're living, you're more aware around that. And day to day, every day, you are different. Your dosha could be, depends on how much you slept last night, what did you eat. According to that, you might be different from day to day, and then season to season. So if you live with 4 hour rhythm, day to day rhythm, or season to season rhythm, you can live a very happy and healthy life. And then just this lovely khichari. Lot of people now know at this stage. Maybe some of you are hating it after the detox, but this is a wonderful sattvic food of Ayurveda. And khichari is the yellow mung lentil and rice or other grain and lovely green vegetables. You can make it in different flavors by changing spices and all that. But Ayurveda say with a positive and devotional attitude, the khichdi could be a wonderful cleanse. So if you have one day, once a week, if you just eat khichdi, make it liquid, make it soupy, make it creamy, it's a wonderful cleanse. So once a week, if you do, you can avoid a lot on the way. So literally light diet, fasting, light evening meal, all the ojas enhancing food and herbs. There are different herbs that I'm not going to go into the herbs. So all these strategy, if you understand the stage of the problem, if there is, and you catch it on time, you can prevent it easily. Or if you're not sure, you can talk to the Vaija, and then you can, with the help of the Vaija, you can understand. So that's what we are trying to do here, to educate you about these lovely beauty of Ayurveda, so that you can become more aware about your health and make yourself happy and healthy. So thank you. I'm going to stop sharing now. Thanks, back to you.
Rajvinder, it's
Can
fantastic.
can I do a little summary, Noel?
I was about to introduce you to do that, Dr. Brennan. Yeah, jump the gun there. Go ahead.
Great minds think alike. And I think, it's wonderful to hear that flow of Ayurvedic wisdom, and to recognize that, that it's the very early stages that you want to be aware. You want to recognize that as Vata or Pitta or Kapha are getting accumulated or aggravated, there can be these minor aches and pains and various complaints. And you can go to the doctors and he'll say there's nothing wrong with you, but you'll feel within that there's not everything is right. And you also see how, it's not that a serious illness suddenly strikes. It can be accumulating by virtue of your mistakes over the years until it comes to a critical point at which it erupts as a serious disease. So it's actually bringing to my mind the tradition with Chinese medicine was that you paid the doctor when you were well. And that's a very, very interesting concept that, when you practice Ayurveda, people are coming to you, and they're coming because they're wanting to prevent and they're wanting to become healthier. And so if someone who is coming to me gets sick, I feel, oh my God, and I don't want to charge them because anyway, it's not the best time to charge people when they can no longer be earning. So that concept of attending the doctor, as Rajvinder was pointing out at the change of seasons, was absolutely traditional. This is the area of prevention, because, it's every season, the dosha gets that bit excited, and that's normal in a sense. Like, you don't go to bed until very late. The next day your vata is, a little aggravated, a little accumulated. You feel a little achy and stiff and a little off form. But then you get to bed early the next night, and then fine, you're back to normal. So it's sort of normal to go into that second stage, to get accumulate a little bit aggravated, and then we bring the balance back. So we're doing that all the time. We overeat, and then we think, oh my God. So we don't eat at the next meal, and then we're back to balance. But it's then when it starts to get aggravated into dissemination around the body and precipitate, and then location, then we're getting into problems. And so the takeaway from this is prevent, and the takeaway is, use your Ayurveda as Rajvind is pointing out, you have all these practical tips which are of no use at all if you don't have your ginger juice before your meal, if you don't actually take your good routine into consideration. So do the practical things, but if it gets seriously ill, it gets into panchakarma, and that's but there's many stages that Rajvind was pointing to that will deal with the earlier, easier situations. And so hopefully that has just brought up main points for you to think about.
Don, just a question there. I mean, how well versed would an Ayurvedic doctor be at picking up, a brand new patient coming in that maybe, hasn't got, just isn't feeling great, but hasn't got any major symptoms as of yet? I mean, how well would an Ayurvedic doctor be capable of picking up what's likely to be happening to that person, what stage they are along that, those 6 steps,
Well, that's
depends on the Ayurvedic doctor, but
That is,
I mean, the story is going to tell a lot, what a person's health history is, because you see the same imbalances cropping up in earlier stages, becoming more and more profound at the physiology. And so you can see it from the story. And ultimately, if the pulse were well taught, the Nadi Vigyan, through the pulse, the Ayurvedic doctor can feel everything balanced, or everything getting a little excited, or a little dissemination, or they're moving around the body. They can feel all of that can be felt in the pulse.
and I will diagnose the patient, not the disease.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so the first thing that will be Rogi Pariksha, just the dosha, the Prakriti determination, and if there is any Vikriti going on in the Prakriti, if there's no actually manifestation of the disease. So the first thing is just correct the Vikriti, just correct the imbalance. Like as I said, the dosha might be just accumulating in its own place. So that Ayurveda physician will know. The person comes say, oh, I can't sleep, and then say, what's happening? So you'll be asking, then you can pick up, okay, if he or she is accumulating vata. So you just simple kind of measures, okay, you do this, do that.
okay, so even in the minor symptoms at the beginning, you're able to determine which of the doshas is likely to be causing that.
Absolutely, dosha, yeah. Like say, as we have said before, the 80 diseases are associated with vata, and then the 40 and then 20, 40 with pitta and 20 with kapha. So you're able to see, okay, this comes under what category of vata, pitta, kapha. So that's.
And does Ayurveda have a situation where it just says, this disease is untreatable?
Oh, absolutely. The categories are treatable or untreatable, the 2 major categories, each of which are broken into 2 categories. Treatable could be treatable with ease or treatable with difficulty.
Mm.
So obviously, if a condition is very long-standing, it's going to be more difficult, but it can still be treatable and brought back to balance. The untreatable diseases are diseases that can be managed, as it were. Even though we can't cure them, they can be managed and ameliorated, and life can continue comfortably. And then there's the other, that there's diseases that you can't treat and that there's nothing can be done for. So someone comes, occasionally we get an email or a request, can we do anything for someone who's in terminal care, and you just have to let go and say, I'd love to be able to, but there's not anything that we can offer at this stage.
Yeah. But as you said, sometimes, I mean, it's interesting. Your talk at the start was about the mistake of the intellect and enlivening that consciousness. And it's been my experience that I've taught some terminally ill people transcendental meditation, and obviously I wasn't saying to these people that, this is going to prolong your life or anything like that. But it's I've always found it amazing because, it seemed to somehow ease the whole thing for them, just even towards that late stage, just that process of transcending and the ability to experience that, seemed to give them a different outlook on their passing, So I suppose even if you can't, as you say, even if you can't, you're not offering a cure, you may be offering something just to make it a little bit smoother or whatever, But obviously, as you say, the longer or the more in-depth it is, the tougher it is to treat or do anything about it,
It's absolutely, coming back to an earlier point, it's absolutely awesome when you meet the real experts in pulse. And I've had so many experience sitting with some incredibly amazing Vaidya's who just took the pulse and told the patient what they complain about. Not just that though, I've seen them telling the patient what was in the family, what was in the father's side, what was in the mother's side, and therefore what they would have to watch out for in coming years. And it's extraordinary, but it's an extraordinary skill that, you know, only really, really rare to be that good.
Yeah, it tends to be in the lineage. Any of the really good people I've met, you know, it's been in the family tradition for a long time, and it's passed down, and they're probably taking the pulse, their own pulse, from when they're very young, you know. So it's
Oh yeah, so I went to Dr. Raju, who's a fantastic expert on the pulse. His grandson came into the room at 6 years old and took my pulse and told me I was too fat.
There you are. Yeah. So then you're kind of dealing with something that's really at a different level. Actually, that's a question that came up there. Someone said, how are we managing our clinics without the pulse diagnosis? It's funny that we've been managing it pretty well because, as I say, everything about the person, the way they speak, the way they look, the way they talk, everything about them is telling you about the person. And then obviously you just ask the person what's wrong with them as well. But maybe you want to comment on that, Dr. Brennan?
I think that you know, if people were very refined in their degrees of imbalance, it might be less easy without the pulse. But people have so obvious imbalances that there's a huge amount we can do over the Zoom.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a darshan and sparshan and prashan, three tools. So we are missing the sparshan, which is the touch, but we have darshan, looking at the person, and then the questions help a lot. So the questions are already tailored towards the physiology. And person tell, they already tell. Oh, and when like when we were talking about vata, they nod their head, yes. So yeah, so you know what you're saying, and they confirm you that.
Yeah, it's amazing, as I've said before, when you get to know this knowledge, you can just pick up on people, what they are. And you know, by knowing what they are, or if they seem in balance or out of balance, you can nearly begin to tell what they're going to say to you even before they say it to you, you know.
Yeah.
Someone walking in the door and say, well, this person's a very Pitta person. And, you know, you may, if they're very out of balance, you may have to be careful the way you speak to them and the way unless you don't want that to flare up and stuff like that. Or someone who's very Vata is just going to be, you're not going to get a word in edgeways with them, you know. So it's so you just, I suppose, you pick it up over time, and the doctors are obviously consulting with people all the time, so it's.
Jashri is asking about the children's treatment similar with the 5-year-old child. Will be a very gentle approach. The children, that is the kapha time of their life. When we are a child, it's a kapha time. Depends on what dosha the child is. That will be the second consideration. The children mostly either could be very much vata or they could be very much kapha. That's mainly children suffer from. So yeah, there will be mother will be educated how to look after the child, how to look after the diet of the child, what to feed him. So if there's a foundation from the very beginning that the child is kept in routine and child is fed properly and child is kept away from the chocolates and all the sugary food and all of that, yeah, so and the herbs, if there is any problem going on, you need to give child a herb. It will be very gentle, very small dose. Yeah, there is a whole branch of pediatrician in Ayurveda. So Ayurveda deals with the children as well. Yeah, but more gentle approach.
So Don, somebody to write a book. So you've already written the book, Live Better, and it's available on our website. A very nice introduction to Ayurveda. But maybe when you get some more time, I think there's some suggestions there that you might write a whole book on the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and genetics. Do you want to take that genetics question, Naheed? What extent do genetics?
You'll take it. I'll find another question. No worries, you take it.
So yeah, genetics. Ayurveda talks about the 4 factors at conception, which is the nature of the mother, the nature of the father, the health of the mother, and a unique factor from within the manifesting child. So yes, genetic effects, the influences of the forefathers are very much recognized in Ayurveda. And so, yes, the child obviously is influenced even in the womb by the health of the mother. And the child is born with their own innate nature, perhaps also plus some imbalances. And if the imbalances are extraordinary, then we get into all this genetic diseases and disturbances. So that's there in Ayurveda. But again, some are treatable and some are not treatable. That's the situation even with the genetic condition.
Yeah. It depends on, again, if you have a good diet and lifestyle and all this, looking after your senses, looking after your mind, you can keep your genetic problem to sleep. It's just sometime a mother have two children, one has eczema, other doesn't have it. So it just could be the one person that has it probably working in a very stressful job at the moment, or something is going on. And so that there are enough triggers for him to have that, and probably the sister doesn't have it. So you see that a lot. So there are triggers. So if you are educated and you're minding yourself, Ayurveda is all about prevention. It's a big prevention model. And that's the knowledge is about your body type, about your diet, about your lifestyle, certain herbs, certain rasayanas. So if you have that knowledge from a very early age, then you can do a lot of good to yourself, to your body. And
And
then
that's really interesting because, we now know from the field of epigenetics that
yeah,
certainly your genes may be prone to give you a disease. For example, diabetes can be in the family, but one person will get a mild flavor diabetic in their 90s, whereas another person in their 20s get it. But that's where the lifestyle, the diet, the epigenetics shows
yeah.
such a profound effect to switch on and off appropriate or inappropriate genes. And that's why it just totally confirms the whole Ayurvedic approach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you're genetically predisposed to something, it just means that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get it. It
Yeah.
even means you more need to look after yourself and have this knowledge because you're genetically predisposed to it. But I think a lot of this thing, I think your genetics, unless you have something very, very strong, it's not your genetics are going to determine your health and longevity. It's your lifestyle that's going to determine your health and longevity. And as I say, if you're genetically predisposed to some condition, then you even need more to look after yourself. But you need to know how to look after yourself.
And Janice mentions the doctor said she'll definitely get Parkinson's. That doctor doesn't know, and nobody can know. But Janice, you can make up your mind you're not going to get it because you're going to take care of your vata and you're going to strengthen your nervous system through good digestion and eating good healthy foods and doing a daily oil massage. This is for real. You definitely make up your mind and do the appropriate things so that you don't. And Rajvinder does see teenagers, by the way, that question came in.
Yeah, I have few teenagers at the moment. Yeah.
And there are Ayurvedic
Hello?
herbals we use in Parkinson's, and it's a very, very much a vata condition, So, and I have a few members of my indirect family that have it, and it's absolutely not a nice condition. So everybody should be doing everything they can. Parkinson's, dementia, all these things, all these vata conditions from an accumulation of vata in your midlife, and that's when you need to be redressing it and bringing it into balance. Sorry, Dr. Brennan, you were going to say something.
Autism's come up as well, and there again we have a vata condition in a vata tissue, the nervous system, and there's things that can be done, but the younger the better because the nervous system is in the process of maturation, and it's much more powerful to get it earlier. Um, and cystic fibrosis, I would have to say this is one of the incurables. But still, even cystic fibrosis, you could actually use Ayurveda to ameliorate it.
Yeah, you can improve the quality and you can delay the progression. Yeah. Yeah, I will deal with that.
So I take a question.
Yeah.
When someone reaches the age of mid-90s and sleeping much more, are they still in Vata time of a life or does kapha start again? No. So Ayurveda has said that after 60, the Vata phase of the life start. But Ayurveda has also given the guidelines of the change of, perspective, like in terms of the doses, in terms of the sleeping pattern, they gradually become like kids. So when a people reach around the age of 70, So their dose of the medication should be as same as the dose of the 16-year-old teenager. So he doesn't go back into the kapha stage of the life. He is still in the vata stage of life, and the people, like they get older, they need more sleep to relax. So, and in fact, they can also do day sleeping. The Ayurvedas also have given, some situations. One of them is that old persons should sleep in the day camp. They should take rest more. And maybe Dr. Brennan can give some insight about this.
Um, I was reading I was reading and missed the question. Give an insight about.
So a person in 90s, they are still in Vata phase or they go back to Kapha
Oh
stage?
no, they're still very much in bad time of life. But see how natural it is that he should start to sleep more, because what does Vata need for balance? Rest. So it sounds to me like it's a healthy response on his side. Elders often mid-afternoon take a nap, and in the 90s you should be sure he's doing that for the sake of his balance. Another question comes up about memory. Again, a Vata condition, you know, and happening in a Vata time of life often, and about multiple sclerosis, again a Vata condition, Vata time of life. I think there's often quite a lot of Pitta involved in MS as well. Again, something that can be managed with Ayurveda. Hypothyroidism can actually, in some cases, be treated as well as prevented.
Just want to read out one thing here. It says, I have motor neuron disease, because we're talking about very serious diseases and what could Ayurveda do for them. I have motor neuron disease, so it's incurable, but the management of it with Ayurveda makes a huge, huge difference in the quality of life. It can be stopped and the progression slowed down, and who knows. I'm so grateful for this wonderful science and for the work you put into spreading the wonderful knowledge. I think that's, I just can't see the name. I think it's Tamara. And Tamara would be, I think Dr. is a patient of Dr. Naheed, you know. So that just shows you there from people asking that question about incurable diseases and chronic diseases and what can Ayurveda do for them. So I think that kind of answers that. Thanks for that, Tamara.
Which brings out nicely, Noel, you know, that people go to the doctors and the doctors say, well, you have this for life. This is incurable. You know, something like rheumatoid arthritis. And it's patently not, because with Ayurveda, some of these conditions can be reversed.
Yeah. So how do we get to the doctors, Don?
Yes.
I've been playing for 5 years.
Yeah, so one thing I would like to say about Tamara, because as she mentioned about her health condition, so what I would like to say that she's a very dedicated lady. So she has taken all the approaches, whatever she learns in the course, she does her research, she takes everything on board. If I say her to do 10 things, she'll never say that it's too much for me. Gradually and steadily she'll do everything, and she manages to do. So you need that consistency, you need that belief, you need that dedication that yes, Ayurveda is going to heal me, and you're definitely going to be healed.
And I just want to catch one there. Just sorry, Don. This is another one itself. I also want to say, leading on from Tamara, my dad attends Raj with Parkinson's and is in better shape than, oh God, it's moving, is in better shape than.
He ever was. He
had been at a stage where he could not turn himself in bed or dress himself, and he is much better shape than that now.
Oh, so happy to hear that.
Well done.
Yeah, and you know, it's amazing because we have a family friend that has Parkinson's disease, and I have been, you know, it's an in-law of mine basically, and like I have given suggestions about Ayurvedic things, but they're just absolutely not interested. Absolutely not interested. They don't want to know about it if it's not a medication.
Like I will add, yeah, it's just like Jani's dad, he's taking his medication. I haven't stopped his medication.
Oh, no.
I just have gently some herbs and some diet changes and some lifestyle, and so happy to see him doing so well and all. So he's very bad and all the things that, so yeah, so that's where I really help to manage the symptoms better and improve the quality. Like same for Tamara, like with the MS, she probably is very happy. She seems very happy with all the changes and the diet she always talk about made today. She said she made kheer, and then probably, so just little things, just improvement in your diet and lifestyle, just adding little bits into you don't have to stop your medication, and yeah, so I
know that for sure, but the point I'm trying to make is that you have to have the the cooperation of the patient.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't have the cooperation of the patient.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Impossible.
Ayurveda also talks about patients that doctors shouldn't treat, like people who know better than them, than the doctor. But
Is that me?
so we're wanted to get to Billy and Carol. A 75-year-old with dementia. There's on the web again. There's a whole talk about dementia. So that'd be worth pointing you towards. Osteoporosis is something.
Start them on the
first.
start him.
I've seen certainly stalled, if not reversed. And then thyroid is something that can be helped with Ayurveda as well.
There's a whole webinar on the thyroid, on thyroid conditions that we did. Well, Dr. Brennan did. You did that webinar, Don, didn't you, on thyroid?
I did, yeah.
And it's available on our website under webinars. So you can,
any tips on encouraging family members to access Ayurvedic treatments? We've got one very big tip. Will you get them to do the Ayurveda course? Because that's what's, turning people on. You can talk to your family all you like, but if you could just persuade them to come online and join our course, they might make a big difference.
And the next one starting on the 27th of April, and it's open for booking. You can go onto our website. It's on the big banner on our website. I have a Facebook ad running for it at the moment. And anybody on Facebook that wants to get this knowledge out there, go and share the link and tell your friends about it. We need thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people signing up for these courses, and it's free. The 6-lesson course is free, and it's a great and most of you have done it, so you know how good it is. So but just go out there. We can only do so much, but you can do an awful lot more. So go out there and tell your friends about it and your colleagues, and particularly medical people, nurses, doctors, anyone working in the medical field. Get them to come on to this. And we need to get this knowledge out there more and more and more,
And there was another question there. Do we treat animals?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
What I find is I treat the patient, and the patient does everything I say for the animals. And that someone at the moment has their dog on 222, so they can get a night's sleep.
Maybe, yeah.
I have people who've done oil massages for horses. And yeah, there actually, I heard of a vet in eastern part of England who was an Ayurvedic vet. But there used to be 40 different Ayurvedic traditions for treating animals. And one that's still very much alive in India is for elephants, managing elephants.
Yeah.
And imagine an elephant is very kapha, is he, Dr. Brennan?
Yeah, kapha animal, yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Easy going.
So attractive. That's why people love elephants. They're just slow and graceful
and somebody else asked me something else there. No, I lost it. Which is all stop putting in questions because I can't keep up with the ones that have. Post-traumatic stress. Well, certainly there's something for the transcendental meditation, very Vata condition. So the Vata measures could only be a help.
Somebody said Indrajal, but it's like a herb. It's good for diarrhea. When people have diarrhea, you take Indrajal. So answer to that question. And somebody was talking about the karmic disease. Yes, karmic disease do exist. That's why meditation is very important. Sattvic diet, sattvic lifestyle. And then there is the astrology, whole branch of Ayurveda. That's a totally different branch. I don't want to go into the astrology and looking at your chart and then recommendation according to that as well. So
all diseases are karmic, really. All diseases are karmic.
Karmic, yeah.
Cause and effect, So
yeah.
There's a branch of medical astrology where not only do they take your history, take your pulse, but also they do your chart and they see the karmic influences. And a question about degenerative spine, yes, very likely to be Vata condition. And again, the whole Vata program, especially the oil massage regularly, and very good herbals as well, but also some yoga postures, things like that would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay, I think we're getting close to the end here. I'm leaving on the messages.
Is that you answer about the post-traumatic stress, Dr. Brennan?
Yeah.
Okay.
TM is your TM. I'm not saying is your answer, but it's definitely worth exploring.
It's yeah, Vata.
Foundation website. They're teaching TM to veterans. They're teaching it to people suffering from domestic abuse, from rape, from all sorts of things. So anything in your life will have an effect. Anything that's happened to you, any experience will ingrain itself on your physiology. And, you know, post-traumatic stress is where it's ingrained itself so deeply that it fires the amygdala, and you're seeing things through a particular lens with a lot of fear and a lot of, you know, anxiety. And then that has all the kick on physical effects as well. So, but the thing about it is that transcendental meditation is also an experience, but it's an experience of stillness and calm and beauty. So it helps to balance it out. And there's huge amount of research done on TM and post-traumatic stress. So, and I've had, as a teacher of it, I've had very good experiences teaching people. So I would say that would be a fantastic place for somebody to start, you know.
The American Army took to it because of that, but they funded a study for $1 million, which was published, and it showed that the TM worked every bit as well as the best treatments they had. The only difference is the best treatments they had were exposing people to what they were afraid of, which was horrendous for the patient, whereas the TM was so enjoyable, and yet it was as effective, at least. That's the way the science had to be. How about migraines? Come to Ayurveda. It's very good for migraines.
It's a Vata Pitta condition.
Pardon, Nahid?
Yeah, it's a Vata and Pitta condition.
Right. And I always think there's a digestive element to that as well, Nahid.
Yeah, more Pitta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And PTSD, very neurological. True, but Ayurveda is equally physical and equally mental and equally emotional, and it addresses all aspects because they all play on each other. And that's what makes it just that bit more holistic.
There isn't a mental disease that isn't physical. Everything is everything. If the physical is mental, the mental is physical. You know, it's all the different hormones going around, all the different chemicals firing in your brain. Like it's everything can be seen in terms of physical as well. You know. Okay, someone's going to work there. Ali Morrison. Okay.
Bye, Ali. Ali's in Canada teaching the piano. She's a brilliant pianist.
Brian Gorman says, any suggestions for sugar cravings? Bar of chocolate?
Cinnamon, more cinnamon.
6 tastes. Needs more tastes in his diet. Use the churnas to get the taste. Use the ginger pickle to get the taste. You don't get all tastes, you end up with a craving. And at worst, if you're going to give in to the craving, you have 1 square of chocolate, right? 1 square, not 1 bar, not 1 box. You just say to yourself, 1. To satisfy the desire, stop there.
Hard to do, Don, if you're Pitta, I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
don't have them in your house. That's my solution. Just don't have them in your house. Don't buy them. Just keep them out of the way.
There was a whole conversation going on in the chat live while poor Raj was doing her piece about chocolate.
No, I saw that, yeah.
This is Ayurveda. Don't be talking about chocolate.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I do tell. Some people say either I am all or no. Then that's a difficult one. Like you're all or no, then don't buy it. And just have a date or a fig or.
Heed, what we going to say? We won't let you throw the heat in.
More cinnamon in your diet could help as well.
And some natural sweeteners like dates, like raisins. There are multiple options, you know, when you have a craving of sweet thing, you just have it. Or you can make kheer, like they are also sweet. You're adding cardamom, cinnamon, jaggery, so they're sweet. You can have that.
Yeah, raisins in your porridge adds a lot of sweetness to it.
Louis has a very
I could take a medical approach here, and I could frighten the living daylights out of you by telling you all the harm sugar does.
That doesn't happen.
Someone asked about migraine, and there's one. My daughter suffers from migraine and had a consultation with Dr. Rajvinder. Much improved, followed the diet instructions. So they are 95% cacao chocolate. I don't know, cacao, what's the take on?
Cacao could increase vata because of the bitter and the light. But yeah, but that could be one strategy instead of chocolate. Yeah, you go with the cacao.
It's very bitter. Is it good for Pitta people then?
Yeah, you have to make certain treats with it. Like, for example, you blend it with some coconut oil and coconut flour and say some nuts and make a little nuts ball snack like that. So you can have it in that way. It might help with that craving of chocolate. Yeah.
So we'll end with one last question. I think I know the answer. Is brown sugar better than white sugar? So who wants to tell people about brown sugar?
Both are same.
Yes.
Read the label. Read the label. That's where the brown sugar. Read the packet. What it say? It say white sugar 70-80% molasses added into it. So brown sugar actually is a white sugar with molasses. That's what make it brown. But if you want to go for sugar, you want sweetness, go for like monk fruit or go for agave. Stevia is one thing. Jaggery is other thing. Yeah, I'll let Dr. Benin speak.
Well, no, I was just agreeing with you. Stevia, I think, is a really good
No,
natural.
no, no. The one, the leaf, the one from the leaf, not the xylitol one from the leaf that come from the green leaf. Is it? Yeah, there is an Ayurveda sugar, but it's bitterish. It's not that. It doesn't really satisfy you. There's a different stevia come from the leaf, like I think it's a sweet tulsi or something else we call it.
So from Jyotishna, my daughter suffers from migraine and has had a consultation with Dr. Ajvinder, medicine,
I'll take that, yeah.
approved, and follows the diet instructions. Thank you, Dr. Ajvinder. She's already feeling better.
Thank you, Joshna. Thank you. Happy.
Okay, everybody.
Louise, can I take that? Can I take one question from Louise? Very nice question, actually. She said, I don't think this has been asked already. Does accumulation begin when we are children, or are we more resilient at a young age? If we started living by nature in our 20s, when we have more information, would we miss the impact of young age if it was bad living? So Louise, you can actually, if it was bad living, you can balance it. So accumulation is happening, but you can also reverse it. If you're very good in your 20s, you can easily balance the bad impact that your young age had bad diet or something, if it hasn't gone too far. Because a traditional diet in the old time was potatoes and bread. Like some families could have bad diet and then too many children, impact on the nervous system and all. So that's where you have this knowledge and you come to the life of yoga, life of meditation, more awareness, self-care, rather than living and going around with more unaware, bad diet, more and more bad diet. And if you start living by nature in your 20s, you're gonna make that accumulation of dosha that happen in your in the child age, you can make it balance. You can recover from it in your young age. So yeah, more earlier you start is better. So that's what we are trying to say here.
Yeah, nature is very forgiving.
If you really get very, very balanced, you get to the stage where Frances Jones is, and she's just put up a quote on the chat line, I make porridge for the badgers.
They are.
That's how enlightened you can become.
Okay. So yeah, don't forget nature's very forgiving. So even if you've done things that are not so good or not so great for yourself, once you start moving in the right direction, a little knowledge can be very, very powerful, you know. So once you start moving in the right direction, nature can be very forgiving in that area. Okay, so I'll send out a recording of this tomorrow. I'll put it up on YouTube tomorrow. I'll send you a link to it. I'm starting my Ayurveda course tomorrow, the one from the Alma Mater in Slovenia. So I'm facing 8 hours on Zoom by the looks of things tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. And so thanks a million for everybody for coming along. We're on again tomorrow night for lesson 4 of our Ayurveda course. We're on Friday night for Dr. Rajvinder's, Wednesday night for our yoga, Thursday night for lesson 5, Friday night for Dr. Rajvinder's detox cookery course, and then next Monday for Dr. Naheed's eye, ear, nose, throat course. So lots and lots of things going on. It's all on our website, ayurveda.ie. And please spread the word about our new course starting on the 27th of April. Let's get a few thousand people on that. And that's great. So I'll tell you all about the training in the Ayurveda. So those of you that are interested in going further with this, I'm sure they're going to be running that course again. And I'll let you know what it's like and everything. And yeah, that's it, everybody. Namaste. Have a great night. And thanks a million to the doctors for coming along and giving us all your knowledge. Thanks, Dr. Naheed, for coming on from India. And we hope to have you back in Ireland soon. Thank you, Dr. Rajvinder. Thanks, Dr. Don. And
Thanks,
good night. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.